Yeah, recording has started. So yesterday we have looked into uh, the CMOS inverter case into more detail in terms of how to estimate the propagation delay, right? And we have also seen that any digital gate, can be represented in a first order approximation can be represented in terms of or any better to say any digital circuit is often modeled in terms of first order RC network. Right. So regarding that, I mean, using that RC first order RC network, we have estimated what is expected to be the propagation time or propagation delay for an inverter and how to estimate that. Obviously, we have considered it that the input is a step input, right? And we have seen that the propagation delay, just to show that for propagation delay in case of CMOS inverter, is can be estimated from this formula, right? 0.69 CL by 2 are equivalent resistance of this NMOS plus equivalent resistance of this PMOS, right? And here we have seen where from this term 0.69 is coming, that is basically the ln of 2 part, right? That we have derived yesterday. And what is the CL? CL is the load resistance, but we have to see today what do you mean by this load resistance in more detail. Okay, what are the resistances that should come here? Here we have considered one lump resistance, that is the CL, but what is its value? How you will estimate the CL? That we will see in today in more detail. And here basically it is an average out of two parts. One is this uh, TPHL and the other one is TPLH, right? Propagation delay when the output is doing a transition from low to high, and the other one is propagation delay when the output is doing a transition from high to low. And you have to take an average out to find the average propagation delay. And in general case, we usually prefer to have an TPLH is nearly equal to this TPHL, right? So today we will see in more detail how to estimate the CL or what the CL consists of. But before that, as a small topic that was pending from yesterday's class, that is the energy dissipation in the first order RC network. Okay, so we have derived this using by approximating a digital circuit by this type of by representing circuit like this, right? This capacitor, this is the V out, and this is basically V in, where you are applying the V in as a step input, right? So we will take this first order RC network again and try to estimate what will be the power dissipation and for this type of network. Just it will not take much time. We will quickly do that, and then we will go to the estimation of this capacitance part. Fine. Okay. So energy dissipation in first order RC network. See, again, we will draw this quickly. R, this is C, this is V out, this is the step input V in. Remember that, huh? This is step input, is V out, right? Then, if we have to estimate what is the energy dissipated by this the supply voltage or supply source, this V in, okay, to completely charge this capacitor from this 0 voltage to, suppose this voltage is changing from 0 to V. Okay, so if it is changing from 0 to V, then finally this capacitor also has to be charged to this V voltage. The V out should be equal to V, right? So in that process, what will be the energy delivered by this source? So let us estimate that. So how can we estimate that? Quite simple. We'll take an just a simple integral of this I into V. So I is this current IC, right? IC of T into this V out. This V out is changing, so we will put it like V out of t e and then dt, right? So what is this I capacitor, current through an capacitor? Maybe that can be written using like this. This is C, this is dV out by dt, right? Here it is okay. What will be the V out finally? V out would be equal to, finally it will be V, right? When this time is infinite, it's V, then it is dt. So what we can do, we can take CV, then integration of dV out, this dt gone. This now at when the time is very high, means at the finally this capacitance will be charged to V, right? So it is basically, you estimate it, it will come to be CV square. So the energy that is being delivered by the source to charge this capacitor from 0 till V is this CV square, right? Provided when the input is step, right? And during this situation, see, observe one thing, that even though the resistance is present here, right, the energy dissipation, the energy dissipated, not, I should not say dissipated, but the energy delivered by the source is independent of the value of this resistance. It does not depend, right? It's only this CV square. It depends on this voltage level and the capacitance value, not on this resistance value, right? Okay. So CV square is the energy delivered by the source. So this is the energy delivered by the source, right? So out of this CV square, means what is the what will be the amount of energy that has been stored in this capacitor? So let us try to find out that. So now we are trying to find out like how much energy is stored in the this capacitor. Energy stored in capacitor. See, so how can you estimate it? It is almost the same way you can do that. So it is IC of t, right? Again, this is V out. This V out, I had made a small mistake here. This V out, yeah, V out will be no, no, that is fine only. This V out is should it be V out? I think I made a small mistake here. It will not be the V out here, but it will be the V in, right? If this V in is changing here, because this is the energy, we are now here, we are trying to find what is the energy delivered by the source. So we have to find what is the current that is flowing through this capacitor. The same current will be flowing through the source as well. At the same time, what is the voltage of the source? So it should be V in. So the V in, finally it is reaching at V volt. So that's what we have written here. So remember that, huh? Here it should be V in. And here it will be IC of t and V out of t dt. But because now we are trying to find what is the energy stored in this capacitor, right? So if you do that, so it is, I again, you can replace it like this C dV out of t by dt. Here this is dV out of t, this is dt. So this dt gone. So if you want to now find, ultimately this capacitance will be charged to an V voltage V. So we can write it here V, right? So if you estimate it, it will come to be C V square by 2, right? So you see one thing here, that the energy delivered by this step input source is this CV square. Out of that, the energy that will be stored in this capacitor is CV square by 2, right? Then where, so this is the another energy. So what is the difference between this? The difference between this is again half of CV square, half of CV square. So where that energy goes? So obviously that energy is being dissipated during charging across this resistance R, right? So should I write it or you will remember it, right? So the energy, the half of this Cv square by 2 is being dissipated across this resistance R during charging, right? Now you think from the other situation. Suppose again this voltage is being now changed from high to low, V to 0 volt, right? Then what will happen? Then this capacitor will discharge, right? And during that discharging, the remaining, that is the half Cv square by 2, that energy which is stored across the capacitor, that will be dissipated across again this resistance R, right? Now, I hope from this discussion you are able to you are able to correlate what I am trying to say. What I am trying to say is this one, that during the charging, if you consider this as an equivalent, have an equivalent resistance of R equivalent of P. So during charging, half of Cv square amount of energy will be dissipated across this resistance, and during discharging, when the capacitor has to discharge through this, the stored energy, which is half Cv square, that energy will be dissipated across this resistance. Fine. So remember that, and remember one thing here, that whenever you are using this step input, the energy dissipated across this resistance R, or the energy stored across this capacitor, they are actually independent of the magnitude of this resistance. Fine. So this was a small thing. I wanted to discuss it in the last class only, but that was left. So we have discussed it today. So I think now we can directly move to the estimation of this MOSFET capacitances. So in the introduction part only today, we have already discussed. It is like you can see the propagation delay. If you want to estimate the any delay, then it is very important to understand what is this CL. This CL, or the load capacitance, right? And how to estimate that. So to understand what is the CL and how to estimate this CL, we need to understand in more detail what are the capacitances that is actually present in a MOSFET, and how does those capacitances vary with MOSFET width, because that is the thing as a designer you have in your hand, because probably you will not change the gate length for a particular technology node. You will not change the oxide thickness, that is also fixed for a particular technology node. So what you can change as a designer, the width. At the same time, if that capacitance is changing with any applied voltage or not, right? So let us go to that part and discuss it in bit more detail. So here we will discuss the MOS structure capacitances. So here you can see I have already drawn the cross-sectional view of a N-channel MOSFET and also the top view, right? If you wonder like how it is this top view, then probably please try to consider it like this. Then I think it would be clear to you that this is basically the MOSFET in a 3D, right? So you have something in this way as well, this direction. So now if you look from this top, so probably we will see this thing, right? This is the source, this is the drain, and this is the gate, right? Right. Now, if this MOSFET has been designed or fabricated by using the self-aligned technology, self-aligned technology, I think I have discussed in your devices laboratory class, right? So, and again, for this course also, we need to again discuss this self-aligned technology in bit more detail when we will, and obviously we'll discuss this when we are discussing the fabrication part. But in self-aligned technology, you know, after you form this gate, then you make this source and drain contact, right? And when you make this source and drain contact, either by implantation or by diffusion, probably most preferably by implantation only, and then you have to heat it up, right? So probably when you have implanted, probably the the this N plus region was here, like you can see my pointer, right? This was here, so probably it is like from here, right? Then when you, and probably this is also here. Then when you heat it up, means after any annealing, after any diffusion or implantation, always you need to do some heating. Otherwise, there will be a lot of crystal damages, right? So when you heat it up, uh, you know when you heat, there will be more and more diffusion. So diffusion here, diffusion, not the diffusion current, but the diffusion of the this dopants. So diffusion of this Nd, donor ions or donor atoms, basically to say donor atoms will try to diffuse out, right? So when the diffusion will occur towards in this side, some diffusion will also occur in this side. So this is called this lateral diffusion or horizontal diffusion. So the line, so probably earlier, when you can think of, like, you have thought like my gate length is this one, the physical gate length, whatever we have made, but actually this will not be the gate length of the MOSFET. But MOSFET gate length will be reduced due to the lateral diffusion. So earlier, I think you have understood what I am trying to say from this lateral diffusion, that this N plus region has now been somewhat bit inside of this gate. So even though the physical gate length is this much, so maybe I can point it out from here, even though the physical gate length, if I say, suppose say this LD, yeah, if I say that suppose physical gate length is LD, it is from here to here, but the actual gate length is this one, right? Okay. Now you have understood this part. So slowly let us progress. This is what? This is silicon dioxide because it is metal oxide semiconductor FET, right? So it is silicon dioxide. Okay, fine. So this is a gate metal or maybe a heavily doped polysilicon. That is fine. This is an N plus region, right? Right. Then what is happening between, if you consider this region, maybe I will take a bit highlighter. If you consider this region or if you consider this region, see here what is happening in this highlighted region. Here you have an metal which is like this, right? Then you have been separated by an oxide, and then you have an N plus, and the source side suppose is grounded, right? So basically then this region, which is the overlap of this gate and the source or doped region, right, that will create one capacitance. So obviously it is not difficult to understand that this capacitance is the capacitance due to the overlapping of this source and drain contact. So this will be source gate to source overlap capacitance. Similarly, this side it will be gate to drain overlap capacitance, right? Okay. Now let me ask you one question here in this context. Can you tell me whether this capacitance value, if I change the gate voltage, will this value of this capacitances will change? Please, what do you think?
No, sir, they won't change.
They won't change. Why?
Sir,
You are right.
the value of capacitance does not depend upon the charge or anything. It's A epsilon by D, right? So
A
I mean
epsilon by A epsilon
by
by D. Right,
D,
right, right, right,
yes.
right. You are absolutely right. Maybe you should also mention here one more point, that is, see, this region is very heavily doped, right? N plus region, right? Okay, maybe I will try to explain it from this point. Okay, now consider this highlighted region in cyan. Okay, now tell me, if I change the gate voltage, the capacitance, this is also in capacitor, right? If you now consider one contact here and this body, then this is also in capacitance, right? This is gate, and separated from another semiconductor by an oxide. So this is also in capacitance. So whether this capacitance will change with gate voltage?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Sir, charge depletion increase.
Charge depletion, right? We have discussed it even in the introduction class, right? That when you apply suppose some positive voltage, then what will happen? This is p silicon, holes will be repelled, so depletion region will be created, right? So that way, this capacitance will actually decrease till a point until you reach the threshold voltage. This capacitance will keep on falling down, right? So this capacitance will decrease or change with application of this gate voltage. But what about this capacitance highlighted in yellow? This
So we
capacitance will
can
not.
say that no pinch off is going to occur in that particular region of overlap capacitances. So that's
Yeah,
why it should not depend upon the mode of operation.
right. But Koshiki, here I think we should not use the term pinch off because pinch off is a bit different, right? Pinch off is different. This is, are you trying to say depletion or pinch off?
Sir, I mean depletion only because in the area
Depletion.
of
Right.
overlap capacitance, positive and negative charges are going to balance each other in every mode.
Right.
So
Right. So even if suppose you apply some negative voltage, there might be some depletion, but as this region is very heavily doped, right, this highlighted yellow highlighted region, right, as this region is very heavily doped, so it's hardly matter, right? You have even if you have some depletion layer, that depletion layer width will be so thin that that hardly this capacitance means that will impact this capacitance, overlap capacitance, right? So that's why these overlap capacitance are fixed, right, if the transistor dimensions are fixed. Okay, we will try to see what do I mean by this dimension. Okay, now suppose this overlapped, okay, this region thickness is xd. Okay, then we can also assume that this side also it will be xd, right, because it is a symmetric device. So this is xd. So that way in the top view also this is xd, this is also xd, right? Okay, here tell me if I have to show the width here, where should I show the width? Width of the transistor, this is L. Where is the width?
Into the screen.
Is it not the width?
Yes.
Right. So that way in the top view also we can say the width is here. Remember that see here, generally the gate will be extended beyond the source and drain. But okay, always remember that in actual structure. But if this is then the gate length, but please do not consider the gate width means the width of the physical gate. Okay, it is the region where it overlaps, the gate region where it overlaps with the source and drain region, because this is actually the region, transistor, right? This region. You can follow my cursor, right? This is the region where you are making this transistor. Here you don't have any transistor, or here you don't have any transistor. So this will be the width of the MOSFET. MOSFET, right? Okay. So we can write this overlap capacitance, right? And overlap capacitance, we can say this capacitance is linear and has a fixed value. What do I mean by linear? Because how do you estimate the capacitance here? We can say CGS naught is equal to C aux into XD into W. What is C aux? C aux is equal to epsilon aux by T aux. Basically then C aux is the oxide capacitance per unit area. So this is basically capacitance per unit area. Right? Please check if I can write this. And if you agree, please say yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now, this thing also maybe we can write it something like this, where we are representing this part by this C naught term. Why? Because see, what is Cox? Cox is the oxide capacitance, that is a technology parameter. What is XD? How much it will diffuse inside, right? Inside this gate, right? That is also a technology parameter. It means fabrication parameter. So it is not in, as a designer, it is not in your hand. So you can keep these two terms inside this C naught, because to indicate that it is basically the fixed. You don't have a control on this as a designer, right? Now, what is this W? This W is the width. So you see that CS naught, basically we're considering the overlap capacitance in the source side, that is now proportional to, and proportional to basically is linearly proportional to with the width of the transistor. So that's what we have written here. This overlap capacitance is basically the linear capacitance, right? It will be the linear one, right? If you change the width 2 times, so CS naught will become 2 times, right? That you cannot change. Okay. And if we say that this is a symmetric device, symmetric structure, then we can also say this CS naught is basically nothing but CD naught, right? Or CDO, basically we can say it O to denote it as overlap capacitance, right? So gate to drain overlap capacitance, this is gate to source overlap capacitance, right? So here in this context, I would also like to mention that remember one thing, that when you have discussed this ID or the drain current of this MOSFET, we have seen ID is equal to this mu n C aux, then W by L, then suppose linear, we are considering the saturation region, then VGS minus VTH square. Am I missing something in this equation?
So half.
Great. So here, if you see that mu and W by L, everything is constant, and if you only try to concentrate on the Cox, then you see this ID is proportional to Cox. So as a designer also, if you want this ID to be higher, this Cox is expected to be higher. Remember that, huh? You have to make ID higher, Cox has to be higher, right? Why we need ID higher? ID we need higher because yesterday we have discussed. Think about a two same bucket. You are suppose same bucket you are filling with 2 pipes, right? One is a thinner diameter and the other one is thicker diameter. Means here the current is more, right? So the time it will take to fill this complete tank, which is basically a capacitor, that will be less in case of this case, right, where the I is higher, right? Suppose if I say I2, then okay, and if I say here I1, then I2 is greater than I1. Then in that case, you will need less time to fill this one, means to fill the capacitor, output capacitor completely charged. So that way you can reduce the propagation delay. So to reduce the propagation delay, you have to have higher ID. So for that, you should have a higher Cox. But see the contradiction, when you have higher Cox, your this capacitance CG naught or CGS naught or CGDO, basically not CGSO and CGDO, basically this overlap capacitance, they are also increasing and they are linearly dependent on this Cox. So please try to correlate that what you need and what you are getting from actual technology point of view. Okay, now we understand that there will be some overlap capacitance in this region. Yeah.
Sir, I could not understand why CGSO and CGDO would not change, sir, because if we change VD or VS, then the depletion regions would change.
Yeah, So you are right. So that's what I am trying to say, say it here. So first thing is that, see, when you are applying here positive, okay. See, first thing is, see, consider from this point of view. Here, source is mostly grounded, right? Here you are applying VG for N-channel MOSFET positive bias, right? So when you apply positive bias, more and more electrons will be attracted towards this interface, right? So you don't have a depletion. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now see from this side. So here, this gate is positive, right? And this is drain. This drain you have applied also some positive bias, right? So even in this case, you might have some depletion, but my point was, as this region is very, very heavily doped, so the depletion layer width, that will be
Okay.
almost
Yes.
negligible,
Yes, sir. Got it.
right?
Yes, sir.
So that's what we can say, that this value is fixed, overlap capacitance. And linear means with respect to W. Okay, with. Okay. Yeah. So here, so far we have focused on this side overlap capacitances. Now let us try to focus more on this capacitance, right? This capacitance, actually, which results in the conduction of current, right? This part. Right. So basically this is the channel capacitance, right? Which is from this gate to this P side, P type of silicon, right? Below that we have an body contact here. Okay. So we are now discussing the channel capacitance. Okay. So just think that initially we are considering the cutoff situation. Okay, so you have a body contact. This is source, drain, and this is gate, and this is oxide. Maybe to look it better, we can make this thing. This is oxide. Fine. Okay. So cutoff means, basically you can think of cutoff means what? Cutoff means any gate voltage below, means we are applying a gate voltage which is below the threshold voltage of this MOSFET, right? That is basically the cutoff situation. So we are applying a applying a gate voltage which is below threshold voltage, right? And so channel has not formed. All remember that, okay? But then how the capacitance will change? Okay, first question is that will there be any capacitance? If yes, how? Then if there is any capacitance, then how it will change with change in the gate voltage. So for that, let us start from Vg equal to 0 volt. So when you have just applied on 0 volt and this gate, right? And for the time being, let us say that Vs is ground, means source is grounded, drain is also grounded. Fine. Okay. So this is body contact. This is this body contact, and this is the gate contact. And suppose initially flat band voltage is also 0, so you don't have any depletion at equilibrium, right? So it is one contact of the gate of the capacitor, and you can assume this is now P silicon. This is also connected up to this region. So this is another contact of this like from this body. So here this is gate and this is body. So these capacitance now also can be written. You remember this is L. This is the actual gate length, not the physical gate length. And also try to visualize the whatever we have done in the last page, that this is the width of the, then this is the width actually. Maybe I will take another color to represent that. That would be, it would be better then. Remember that this is width W, right? This is that part, that width W. So what will be this capacitance? This capacitance value. This capacitance, again, the separation between this is C ox. Separation between this is like T ox, oxide capacitance, and the dielectric is epsilon naught. So basically here the capacitance per unit area would be equal to epsilon ox by T ox, right? And then what will be the capacitance? This is per unit area. Total capacitance would be equal to C ox into the area. Area is L into W. So if we have to now plot it, suppose here VGS. So here we are plotting how this capacitance, this the total gate to channel capacitance is changing with the gate to source voltage. Then when this gate to source voltage was 0, then we have seen just now we come across this thing, that this value would be equal to C ox W into L, right? Okay. Now we are now increasing the gate voltage. Suppose the threshold voltage of this n-channel MOSFET is 0.5. So, and now we have made VG equal to 0.1 plus. So we have increased the gate voltage little bit more. So as a result, what will happen? This is a positive voltage. So that will try to repel some of the holes from this P silicon. So that will create one depletion layer here. So how to show the depletion layer? Maybe no, this is quite thick. Maybe I will take a thicker pen if it allows me. Or no. Yeah, suppose it will now create one. It is not looking good. Just a minute. Color is also not good here. Maybe this color. Yeah. So it will create one depletion layer here. This yellow I am representing the depletion layer, right? So what will be the capacitance now? Earlier the separation between these two was due to only this T ox, right? But now in addition to that, after T ox you have a depletion layer this much. So the separation between this plate and this plate has decreased. It has actually increased. So separation T ox means then you cannot really do it from here, because now you have two different capacitances. One is this C ox, right? C ox, and the other one is this C depletion capacitance, right? And these two capacitance are coming in series, right? And when two capacitance are will come in series, series, these two capacitance will come in series. This is C ox and this is CD. Then the overall capacitance will be the C ox CD by C ox plus CD. Means the overall capacitance will reduce. So at 0.1 volt, so we can guess the C ox, this capacitance probably will reduce to little bit here. 0.2 volt, yeah, little bit more. 0.3 volt, little bit more. 0.4, maybe little bit more. 0.5 is the threshold voltage. So say at 0.5 threshold voltage, or maybe suppose 0.45. So 0.45 we have reached up to this much. So we can connect it with a line. So the expected behavior of this capacitance is this much, right? Okay. And before I discuss it, like what will happen after that, but here I want to mention one thing, that this capacitance, even though this is the channel capacitance of this MOSFET, but this is between gate to body. So this capacitance will denote by this term CGCB. CGCB means gate to channel capacitance, means gate to body capacitance, but C indicates basically it is the channel part, right, due to the channel part. So the gate to body capacitance due to the channel part will fall as you are changing the gate voltage from 0 towards the threshold voltage. Suppose this is the threshold voltage, VTHN, n-channel threshold voltage, right? It will do that. Fine. So this is whatever we are discussed, what will happen in case of this cut-off situation. Now let us say that, let us see this next image where we will consider a gate voltage which is greater than equal to the threshold voltage of this n-channel MOSFET. Okay. So here what will happen when when we have increased this gate voltage, equal to threshold voltage or maybe more than that, then obviously one channel will form. So channel means what? Channel in channel for n-channel MOSFET, it is basically created by an inversion of electron layers, right? So this is electron, right? Inversion layer, right? And here also we are assuming that this source and this drain, they are actually grounded. Source and drain. So you can see from here that once this channel is being formed, this gate to body capacitance will disappear, right? Because once you have a electron here and this electron is connected with source and this electron, this same layer is connected with the drain, right? They are connected. And this electron, presence of this electron will shield the body terminal, because whatever the electric field is being generated when you are applying here positive voltage, electric field is being generated, that will be totally terminated in this region. So nothing will come below that, right? So what will happen? The total capacitance, okay, the capacitance of this CGC. Yeah, Shoikat, could you please mute your microphone? Shoikat. Okay, thank you. So okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, so what I was telling, that this capacitance CGCB, that will fall, right? And that will fall, and that at threshold voltage, as this channel will appear now, this will completely become zero. Fine, okay. But then after that, what will happen? What will happen to this this channel capacitance? Now you see, as this channel has been created and this channel is both connected with the source side and this drain side. So the total capacitance means this total capacitance is the Cox W by L, because now the channel has formed here. Again, the separation between the top terminus, one plate, and the other plate of the capacitor is only the Tox. So again, the total capacitance will become Cox W into L. But this total capacitance will now be divided equally between the source and drain. You understand my point? So once this has happened, after that, the total capacitance will be equally divided between this source and drain. Right? So we are writing it as CGCS to denote that gate to source capacitance, and C we are keeping because it is the due to the channel part, and CGCD. You understand why it will be equally divided? Because the channel is now uniform, right? And the capacitance is same as the same capacitance whose value is given here, right, at the 0, because now the separation between the gate and the channel is only the Tox. So the capacitance will be the same, but it is now been divided in two parts. You can think this and this. So it is this way. Now, where from this capacitance will start? Obviously, this capacitance cannot start immediately at this VTH at the threshold voltage, right? Because from our definition itself, we have seen that from your semiconductor device course, I think you will remember that before we say that it has been threshold or the inversion layer has formed, before strong inversion, you have another inversion which is called the weak inversion, right? Where also some channel is formed, but there the channel is not that strong. I mean, the concentration of electron in the channel is bit less compared to the strong inversion, right? So weak inversion have already been started from before this threshold voltage, right? To indicate that, what we can say that this capacitance, this CGS and CGD will start increasing just before this VTHN, right? And it will take a value, and when you have slightly higher VGS than this VTHN, they will equally divide among themselves because of this uniform channel, because now VD equal to 0, right? Now, if you are interested if you are interested in saying what is the total capacitance, right? The total this gate to channel capacitance. Then in that case, probably you can just add all the capacitance. So here, if you add this capacitance, it will be like this, right? This is the total channel capacitance. Understood? So total channel capacitance, more or less, it will be constant at Cox W by L. Only you can see near to the threshold voltage, it will give a slight dip, right? And you should also understand like this total channel capacitance, how they are divided between this gate source side and drain side, which is actually the equal condition between these two. So we have seen that the channel capacitance have three contributions, three part. One is this CGCB, which is gate to body capacitance which is a part of the channel capacitance. So we are denoting it like this. Other one is CGCS. This is gate to source capacitance, which is again a part of channel capacitance. And the third one is CGCD, gate to drain capacitance, which is again a part of this channel capacitance. So these three parts we can do, this channel capacitance can be divided into three parts, and we have seen that when VDS is equal to 0, how this three will vary, right? But you might say, and definitely it is also, if you say this point is also valid, that when we are operating a MOSFET, we never keep both source and drain at zero voltage, right? That is absolutely right. Right, but you can say like where is the rate? Yeah, but what we can say, we are trying to segregate, means we are trying to do it step by step. But now, as we have understood this part, probably now we can take up the case for the third one, where we have applied some positive VDS in this drain terminal. So we keep this source terminal at ground potential. So now we'll keep this here. So here, what will happen, you know that, right? As you are increasing this VDS, the channel electron concentration towards this drain side will gradually decrease, and a time will reach when you will have a almost this type of situation, which is this almost type of pinch off, right? And if you further increase the drain voltage, then what will happen, that you will come across a situation where the channel will become like this. So the channel has now been detached from this drain terminal, right? So in that case, if I ask you, can you now plot the variation of these three things, GCB, GCS, GCD, with with this with the change in VDS, then what will be your answer? First thing, let us quickly try to understand from here is that, right, see here body is here, right? We have terminal and gate is here, but still the channel is present. So most of the electric field which has been originating from this gate, they will be terminated here, right? So nothing will come below to that. So that way, here we can easily say this CGCB value, that is not going to change. CGCB value will be equal to 0 only, right? But what will happen to this CGCD? So what will happen to the CGCD? So now the channel has been detached from this drain terminal. So as the channel has been detached from this drain terminal, so the part, I mean earlier when the channel is uniform, this total gate to channel capacitance has been divided equally between these two. But now as you are changing this drain voltage, so more and more gate to channel capacitance part will be shifting towards this gate to source side, right? And this gate to GCD, this value will keep on falling, right? Because you understand from here, because here the electron concentration is decreasing. So that way, if you have to segregate, divide the total capacitance between this GCD and GCS, then you will say like now the contribution for this side is more compared to the drain side. Okay, maybe in the next page we will try to look it into in more detail. So here we are considering a situation which is like this, and here if we have to plot this capacitance, the channel capacitance with VDS, so for our easier analysis we are making it as VGS minus VTH, right? We are just making it like over VGS by this one overdrive to make it like a 1. Okay, so this is 1, and so here we will make 2 points first clear like earlier. One is this Cox W into L. So we'll write here this Cox WL, this 2 point Cox W into L, and the other one is this half of Cox W into L. So these 2 point will mention here, right? Okay, now this is the point which is 1, means VGS is equal to VDS is equal to VGS minus VTH, right? And so when this VDS was 0, that means we are here, right? And let us see how do we have calculated here. So the channel has formed. So here VGCB is 0, that is fine. VDS is equal to 0. So for a particular VGS, so we can see VGCS is equal to VGCD. Both are equal, right? So what we can say is, let us see also how we have denoted it. Okay, one is using blue. So if we now indicate, this is the same thing for both, like this will be the value for both VC like CGS and CGD. But what will happen after that to CGCD? CGCD will gradually become fall and will come to almost to the 0 value as we increase this VDS, right? It will keep on falling down. Okay, now what will happen to this VCGS? VCGS, on the other hand, you have seen that more and more part is coming towards this side, right? The channel capacitance part. So it will increase gradually, and at this point, okay, it is not a good drawing. And at this point, it will reach to a value which is 2/3 of Cox WL. Why this will come to this 2/3 of WL? So from modeling, it has been found that this capacitance at this point, it will come to this 2/3 of Cox WL. And for this course, it will be difficult to explain like with our current understanding that 2/3 why it is coming 2/3 of Cox WL. But it has been found that if you model it, and this number, here the capacitance value can be easily approximated by 2/3 of this Cox WL. Fine. So And here also, if you want to see that what is the variation of the total capacitance, G is total gate to channel capacitance, then you have to again add these two. So if you now add these two, you can see this is increasing, this is falling. Finally, this earlier the total gate to channel capacitance was this much. Finally, it is this much. So you have to just add this two. So CGC. So this is the total capacitance that will fall from here till here. Right. So I hope this gives you the basic idea like how we can estimate the capacitance and get to channel capacitance particularly in different regions. However, we can see that it is continuously varying, right? It is like it is actually dependent on VDS, VGS, almost all the things. So, but for to make our hand calculations or manual calculations easy, so we will take some again some approximation and try to fix the values for based on the regions they are operating. Because if we say like if it is operating in the cutoff, we will say then the value of VGCB is this much, V of GCS is this much, right? We will try to fix that. Otherwise, to really find what will be the exact value at this point, it will be tough for us, right? And it is no point of doing this thing because why your the simulator can always do this thing quite seamlessly and quite easily, right? But our a main intention is to understand, not to do some rigorous calculation. So here operating regions first, say the cutoff region. Okay, so in cutoff region, what will be the value of this GCB? That is gate to body capacitor due to which is a part of the channel capacitance. Please tell me what should be the value. We have done this.
Cox WL.
Cox WL, this one, very good. So it is Cox WL. What will be the value of CGS?
0.
In cutoff? In cutoff CGS.
So it
In
should be
cutoff
0.
CGS. 0. See that? In cutoff means this region, right? This is threshold. Are you not getting? So this is the region.
WL.
Right. This is the region which is the cutoff region, right? This is the region which is cutoff region. Right. So here this will be how much? 0. What will be the value of this CGCD? Again 0. What will be the total gate to channel capacitance? Total gate to capacitance will be the summation of these 3. So obviously it is Cox into WL. Okay. Then in the resistive region or in the resistive region, basically the triode region, this region. Okay, in this region, the situation is more or less closer to this, because here the value of VDS, even though we have considered for this second case that here VDS equal to 0, but this situation will not alter much if you apply a VDS which is quite small, right? So again, for this we can write that this is that resistive situation or this triode case, right? Almost close to that. So then in this case means for this region we have seen the CGCB value is 0, right? And this gate to source capacitance and gate to drain capacitance, they will be equal to this half of Cox WL. So resistive or triode region, this part becomes 0. This is become half of Cox WL. This is become half of Cox WL total capacitance. Just add this to Cox WL, right? Okay. Now here it comes this region, saturation region. Right. So what will happen in this saturation? that we have seen from here. Let us say from will, because see this will be the okay. What is the condition for saturation for long channel? It is VDS is equal to VGS minus VTH. Beyond this, it will be saturated. So see here, this point value is 1. So that means this is the condition for this saturation, right? So in that case, again here CGCB is 0, right? The value of CGCS is this one, right? I should have written here CGCS. So GCS value is 2/3 of COX WL. CGCD, this value is 0. This value is 0. What is the total capacitance then? 2/3 of COX WL. Right. So then if we know the region of operation of a transistor, right, and then from this analysis, at least quite approximately, we should be able to estimate what is the gate to channel capacitance would be. And we have seen that gate to channel capacitance will have 3 parts, and we would be able to say what would be the value of these 3 parts, right? All this thing will come up finally, where we will see that how this individual values is going to impact the overall performance of a MOSFET. Suppose if you are using this n-channel MOSFET, this particular n-channel MOSFET in an inverter, then which part of out of this thing will like we have to be most concerned. Those things we need to see. But for that, the sub part and how they are coming, we should know it bit in more detail, right? So I think it's already 11:10. So what we will do, we'll take a small break, water break, maybe 2-3 minutes, and then we will come back. Okay.